All right. We are going to welcome everybody. We're going to give about a moment to let others join us today. We're here with Sheri Rozeski of Grateful Money. We've got people hopping on. Welcome, Brooke. Welcome, Debbie. Hannah, we're so glad you're here. Roger's back in the Zoom room with us. Pamela and Naya, Linda, Rose, Tesla. This is great. We're going to have a great day today. I appreciate all that you've done to create your time to be here with us. My name's Tara Ann. I'm going to go ahead and I am a Primal Master Coach and an ambassador for the Primal Health Coaching Institute. And today we want to elevate your health coaching business by taking control of your financial future. So we're thrilled to have you join us with financial expert Sheri Rozeski. And, Sheri, we've got a few more people coming in. We're just so happy that you're here today.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. Ooh, my camera just zoomed out and glitched. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be here with all of you, and I hope you receive value and strengthening in your relationship with money and maybe where you're going to go with your business.
Wonderful. Well, to let our participants understand a little bit more about you and how you got into this work, specifically like working with coaches too and their money management. Will you just give us a little bit of like your background and what brought you here?
Yeah. Yeah, my story is pretty similar to the rest of the United States. For some reason when we graduate high school, we're supposed to know exactly how to work with money, and I did not. And I guess it was about 2008, 2009, my husband and I started facing financial ruin. It came on slow, and then all of a sudden, when it started building, the expenses were way bigger than the income. We had 4 kids at home, and there you have it. We experienced it. We were in the trenches of it. Then a little bit later, I decided that I thought, what if we went and found uh, I'd already read Susie Orman. I tried all of the financial books, but I thought I'd give it one more try. And I did Financial Peace University. My husband and I decided we're going to have date night every Thursday night for 13 weeks.
Oh, that's great.
And it was so fun. Oh my goodness, we had a great time with it. He was even the bookkeeper of all the rules. So it was a lot of fun. We went there, and our biggest goal was is if we understood money and how to talk about it as a team, then we could incorporate our 4 children into it and we could make it a family unit. And that's what we did. We spent the next couple of years recalibrating our personal budget. And then I realized that I never wanted anyone to experience that.
Yeah.
And so I took our experience and I researched. So I became a master financial coach with Dave Ramsey's team. And then I just started honing in the skill, like how can we help everybody? Because everybody has the same set of rules, if you will. Money comes in, money goes out. Now, the power is in the choice of where you spend it, how you plan it, if you choose to plan it, and how do you utilize all of these different tools. And so that was basically my experience. And so I went through Dave Ramsey's school of training, and I started with divorcees. I started teaching a class at a divorce care, and that was a lot of fun. And then I kind of moved into helping businesses go from the red to the black. That was a lot of fun, lots of new challenges, but still fun. And then eventually, and we'll talk about this more, Tara Ann, but the part of it was is while I was honing in my skill, there was no doubt in my husband or my mind that I needed to start slowly. I couldn't just drop my full-time job and do this, I wasn't confident enough in my experience and how much practice I had had. So that was part of the journey as well, going from part-time and then elevating it to the point where it was like full-time job coaching. Are we ready to take the leap? Is the gap too big? Is it manageable now? So then I made the leap and the jump and started coaching other people and coaches. And then I was introduced to other education of not just focusing on affordability, which
Mhm.
is where I started in the Dave Ramsey zone, and started moving towards possibility and aligning your internal and external needs. What does that mean for your business? What does that mean for your personal life? How do you make a life that you want? And overall, that's pretty much my journey over the last 14 years or so.
Sheri, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And as I'm listening to you, I want to acknowledge your dedication, how you brought your family on board. Like, super cool that you and your husband did it as a unit. And I just want to, acknowledge, the participants that are here. Feel free to like either um, ask a question, and we can utilize those throughout, or you can use the chat box. I'll go ahead and manage that. But isn't it cool? I want to say, like, primal health coaches, doesn't that sound like many of our stories? How many of us have had challenges in our health and in our life, and we wanted to like take back that power. And then by doing so, it's like, "Phew, I want to shout this from the mountaintops and save the world," which is like one way of doing it. And then, like you were saying, you started in one way around affordability, and you even started teaching in that way. And then as your craft has grown, that you're acknowledging like what an inside job it all is. And health coaches, wouldn't you agree? Like, when we're working with people, it's whether it's the donut or the water they're drinking or not drinking, like, it is an inside job. It's an inside choice. And it's, we get to empower ourselves or not. And so that's what I love about this profession. And if
Yeah.
anybody has anything to chime into, it's like we become better people through this profession of coaching. And you doing it through money, us doing it through health coaching. And I just want to highlight too that that journey of going from enthusiast to like making the leap. And would you be willing to like slow down and talk about that, maybe even from like your story, but then also when you're coaching others and what that looks like?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I had to really start with experimenting. Like first I experimented on myself. Let's see if it works.
Yeah.
What pieces work, and then getting some additional continuous education. That's the power of being a coach is we are the vessel in which our craft is made available to our community, and the outpouring, and all of it is built in love. So the internal job of learning how to love ourselves, finding the confidence to do something new. And then what you do is I have found, Terry, and you and I have talked offline a couple of times, and one of the things that you and I realized is that money and health, they go hand in hand. They
Right. Like the
really
root
do.
of issues. It's like at our
Yeah.
core.
I mean, you can work at surface level, and so from like a money point of view, just like you were referring to like the donuts or eating at night. I've
Mhm.
seen, I faced that at one point where I would just wake up in the middle of the night and it's time to eat.
Yes.
Uh, but it's the same type of thing with money, whereas like we can have an idea of where our money is going. And if we let it rest all up here, it would be like not paying attention and logging your food, right? Like it sounds so much different and it manifests different up here than it does here. here, and even in the written word. There's something about taking it from there to there. So that is my first and foremost is that you have a written budget. And I mean, you can use tools, of course. I use a couple budgeting tools called Every Dollar.
Okay.
Um, I also have like a PDF that I use to guide people because the thing is it's not just about where the expenses are. It's not a numbers game at all. Almost all money is behaviors and understanding responsibility to your business if we're looking at it from a business point of view, and that's how we'll look at it today because it's kind of a different set of rules for your personal, but altogether, like you do like a song and dance of finance, right? Like you have to have your business give you an income, you got to follow, you have to invest in continuous education, you have your certain set of bills um for your business, and you have to pay taxes. There's a lot of responsibility in being a business owner. And how
Mhm.
lucky we are to live in the United States where we have that opportunity. There's some in Europe and different things, it's a lot more difficult to start a business if you want
Right.
to. So
Yeah.
it's exciting that we're here where we are.
Mhm.
So you basically set up a budget, and the biggest thing is to plan where you want it, where you want your money to go before it's spent. Like taking a really proactive approach and then modifying it week by week. I call it money dates. Like I date my money every single week because it's just important to take stock. And it's okay if you go over budget in this category, you might be under budget in this category. You modify your planned amounts and you go another 7 days. It's amazing how you can do anything for 7 days.
I really love that. I mean, we practice that in health coaching, but to apply that also to money, it's fascinating because sometimes, when I first started doing this budgeting, I believed it was going to be constrictive and I was going to be a rule breaker and how, it felt so overwhelming. And then as I began to do it, it actually created more clarity and order. And having that money date, half hour a week was was it made me look at what was actually going on, and that in itself is empowering because then I could make like small changes, and then the creativity that can flow and the confidence that came from that, it's so helpful in my business. And I realize that, like, some of the participants here may be at different stages. They may already have a full-time job and they're doing this health coaching on the side. They may be going through the primal health, coaching mastery program or the new ACE program, to be board, on their way to be board certified. And there's just growing numbers of jobs out there for health coaches. So would you be willing to talk about, what you see even in, a coaching profession, and what might be best ways for people along their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first let's talk a little bit of logistics. They're not very fun and they're absolutely necessary. So, logistics of being a business owner. You are going to, if you are entering into becoming a business owner, you'll want to decide if you want to be a W-2 employee, which means you'll work for somebody else, you'll receive paycheck, possibly health benefits, all of the awesomeness that comes with it. But they also get to decide when you work, when you go home, so there's some pros and cons to everything. So if you want to do that, that is just like working for any other company. You fill out your W-2 and you go into it and you spend time honing in your craft. Now, if you want to be more of a contract base, we call that like 1099 contract base. So that would mean that you would own your own business. You would be a contractor for another business. And what that looks like is it's state specific
Okay.
and federally connected. Not fully complicated, but there's a couple of different options. You can choose to be a sole proprietorship,
Okay.
which basically means that when you file your taxes, it's sole proprietorship business entity means that you're going to use your social security number to file your taxes. You're gonna record your income, your expenses for your business, and you'll also have all the other normal tax stuff that you do. So you have that. And this is really great for people that are just deciding, is this for me? Do you
Mm.
want to, do you want to just kind of explore, experiment, see what you want to do? And then you have the two other, well, there's actually three, but I'll just talk about two. Then you have an LLC, and then you can do S corp. Now, based off of me talking to my tax accountant, it didn't make sense for me personally as a financial coach to change the business entity until I reached a certain income threshold. I can't
Okay.
remember what it was, but that takes us to creating relationships, honestly.
But this
Creating
is
a
this is helpful because, in the primal health coaching level 1 certification, there's a business section, and it was so helpful, but what you're sharing is like the ins and outs of like when it's appropriate to make that next leap. And what you say here is important, the relationships. Tell me more.
Yes. Well, I'm going to have a squirrel moment for just a
Okay.
second. I'm going to go back to the sole proprietorship and the different business entities. Now, I always suggest, because everything is state specific, you really want to be acquainted with your state business regulations. You can always, there's usually always a website. I live here in the state of Colorado,
Okay.
so I can go to the state of Colorado and look up all the things, and it shows you exactly how to, if here in this state, we would set up a trade name if we're a sold prop. And then there's above and beyond regulations if you choose a different business entity. But it's kind of across the board. What do you where do you live, Terry
I
Ann?
live in Hawaii, and I'm set up
Okay.
as an LLC.
So you're set up in LLC, and that leads us to people in your corner on the support side.
Yeah.
Like, you and I can talk about business entities left and right, but it might not make as much sense to a brand new business owner, and it might feel really scary. And our goal here today is to just release the tension and just take it step by step, and
Thank you,
it's all
Sheri.
gonna be
I feel
okay.
relaxed already.
So really, there's a couple. Well, I would start if I was a brand new business owner. My first relationship that I would cultivate is with a tax accountant. Now, I'm going to be kind of funny here, or what may seem funny to me anyway. My first tax accountant, it was like eating dry toast. Oh, yeah. It wasn't exciting. And then I elevated, and the goal when you're creating a relationship is you really want a tax accountant that's going to be able to teach you, like that you can ask questions and you feel comfortable asking questions. It's not like when, I don't know if you ever, when you were a kid, if your mom said, why, or if you asked your mom, why can't I do that? And she says, because I told you so. You don't want that type of relationship with your tax accountant. You want somebody to guide you. What is my next step? What are the possibilities? When do I reach this threshold where I need to change my business entity? And it's going to be an evolving relationship. And even if you don't choose the right one for you the first time, there's a lot of tax accountants out there. You can keep choosing them and keep
Right.
finding them.
That's right.
So I think I answered the question. The relationship part is, um, do you mind reading that question, Terry
Yeah,
Ann?
that's
Would that be
great.
okay?
Tesla, thanks so much for participating. How do you budget as a new business owner when you don't know how much you'll make?
Mm, great question. Okay, so I have like a fun little formula of how I operate, and it's tested by me, especially when I was and other clients that I've worked with. So my formula is I first of all, it's kind of like your first budget. It might be like throwing spaghetti at a wall.
Okay.
You might have, like, if it's uncooked, it'll bounce off. If it's undercooked, it might walk down the wall. And if it's fully cooked, it'll stick to the wall. So, like, it takes 30 to 90 days to start formulating a budget that really works for you. So
Yeah.
from an income point of view, I always throw out the lowest amount that you think that you'll make gross.
Okay.
Should I clarify gross and net?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So gross is the income that actually you are paid, comes in, and then the net income is your gross income minus your expenses, and that would be its net profit, net income type thing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, so just make sure that I always make sure that my expenses are high, my income is low. And what will happen is when your income increases, then you have more money to work with and plan where you want to put it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully I answered Tesla's question.
Is that helpful, Tesla? Let us know. And others, feel free to chime in and share some questions. But again, like how about folks that are going from being like a part-time coach, perhaps they have their full-time job, or maybe they are a W-2 employee for like a digital wellness company or in the health coaching industry, and they've got some clients on the side. They're building their private practice. What might
Okay, if they're and we're looking at this from a part-time point of view, right?
correct?
Okay. So
Part-time,
part-time.
part-time coaching, like part-time, yes.
So sometimes that with part-time coaching is great because if you have full-time work over here, your full-time work and income can support your personal lifestyle, generally speaking. So then that allows a lot more experimentation when you're looking at your business budget, and you can start adding things slowly. A lot of times when people are starting a part-time, my husband actually called it his slush fund at first. I was like, it doesn't work that way, but it would be nice if it did.
And does that mean like it was extra?
Yeah, it was just
Okay.
extra. It was outside of what we needed. So we were able to play and use it. So when the income came in, we could add expenses. So let's say in the first month of business, and Tesla, maybe this will help you. Let's say the first month of business, I make $500.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that my expenses are lower than $500, and I might not receive a paycheck right away because you want to pay 25%, generally speaking, 25% of your gross and wow, I almost goofed that up. 25% of your net income, so after your expenses, net profit, towards taxes. Now,
Okay.
again, this goes back to creating a relationship with your tax account. There's a lot of cool things that you can do there. Estimated taxes, or just create a tax fund for yourself based off of that. Um,
That was helpful for me, when I first started receiving income, and then I just take that 25% into a sub account. And so that it's like I can't even touch it and it's being saved for taxes. That was really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other rule, like when you're trying to figure out what your expenses are, because expenses as your business graduates and elevates, your expenses graduate and elevate along with your income. So they just like all grow as a blossoming flower, if you will. So like, you just start small, and what I always tend to do is make sure that I don't pay myself until I pay responsibilities. Because in the end, when April 15th or March 15th comes around, depending on your business entity, paying the piper is absolutely no fun. And tangoing with the IRS is even less fun. It's no fun. So I would suggest, just like and connecting with people, other business owners, maybe,
Mhm.
other health coach business owners that
Mhm.
might understand what they do. Maybe they're like a year ahead of you, like there's nothing wrong with checking in with others that have done it before you. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel.
what you say really makes sense because I think when I first started, everything was commingled, my personal, my business, and I just like, that's okay, that's okay. And when I dedicated myself to separating the monies, it really cleaned up my awareness of my business versus my personal. I believed that I could, like, all of my clothes were work clothes, right? And so I was like blurring some of the lines,
Mhm.
and it brought more, the process it's brought more integrity into my choices, and then that's really cleaned the lines, and it's made my money dates a little bit more fun too. And it's
Mm.
it's it's just a beautiful piece. We've got a couple questions coming up right here.
Okay.
Stephanie's asking, what percent, she has a couple questions. So what percent do you suggest reinvesting back into your business? And if you have different components of your business that bring in income, like public speaking versus one-on-one versus other income sources, do you recommend having them under different entities for tax purposes?
That's a great question. So I'm going to answer Stephanie's first question, and then
Yeah.
I'll go to the second one. So the percentage of reinvesting, that's really in just, it's not necessarily a percentage when you're
Mhm.
first starting. It's more designing where you need your money to go. So once you have your income, then you can design what expenses and more or less what is left after your expenses. That's where you can decide how much you pay yourself, how much you can reinvest back into your business. And and it brings up another important point. And I just want to throw this out there because some of your health coaches might do this. And so I want to throw it out there. And it's the idea of amortization. So if they provide a package for a client that maybe extends over a series of months, let's say 12 months, let's
Okay.
say we do, and I'll just make it easy money for, like, because I'm not going to pull out a calculator.
Mhm.
Let's say it's $12,000 that they charge for 12 months of health coaching. What we might do is what I would suggest is when they receive the 12,000, you will, like, you'll do your regular budget as far as your income and your expenses,
Okay.
and then you're going to take 25% of your net profit. So you're going to minus your income expenses there. And then what you'll do is after you take your taxes off the top, then I suggest sticking it into a savings account and allocating it to expand over that 11 months. Then what you do is you take whatever allocation you have for yourself, take it from your savings account and put it into your checking account so that that
Oh,
allows, instead of having highs and lows, ups and
oh.
downs, it regulates your income source a little bit, which
And that was
helps.
super helpful as I was a new health coach and would like get a client, create a client relationship, and then it would be like, booms, then like nothing, boo, and getting used to that felt a little hairy. And so the amortization fund has been like just relieving and relaxing, knowing that I've quantified that. And then the more that I go out and create clients and working relationships, that's just going to go up.
Mm,
And, Linda has something to add to this. She said that she found that there are monthly expenses that are fixed and are independent of expenses, CRM, website, etc. And she can't adjust those based on the revenue for the month.
mm. That's a great question. Can I answer the second piece of
Yeah,
Stephanie and then come straight
perfect.
to that one? Because I realized I kind of went off on that amortization
Perfect.
tangent.
We're having fun.
Um, so as far as like public speaking, health coaching, Tesla or Stephanie, what I would do is I would talk to your tax accountant and find out if they all fall under a particular header category. So in my business, I can do courses, I do one-to-one financial coaching, I can do public speaking, and they're all under the same header category because the header category is financial coaching. So I
Right.
can put all of those different revenue streams into that one. Now, if I was a house cleaner and a financial coaching, I would separate those completely. So Stephanie, let me know if that helped in answering that question for
That's
you.
helpful. I mean, that's similar to me. Like I get public speaking, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and that's all under my Tara Ann coaching, which is one single entity.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful.
And then Tesla also says, she's in Canada. So her options are actually, let me back up because, you might want to answer the one from Linda first about the monthly,
Yes, and
fixed
I
monthly
can't see
expenses.
Linda's.
And
So
that's
tell me that
because it's
again.
part of the Q&A box. We've got two little
Okay,
things running. So
great.
Linda says that she found that there are monthly expenses that are fixed, CRM, website. She can't adjust those based on the revenue for the month. Would that like go in with the amortization, or like how would you handle that?
So if I was first starting, and hopefully Linda, I answer this. If you want me to come at it from a different angle, just let me know. I'll 100% do that. Um, when you're first starting up and you have those expenses and you don't have the income to actually cover those expenses, that's when we would use like an owner contribution, if you will. So you might have to take from your personal life or your personal budget and infuse your business a little bit until you can get the client creation that you need for your business income to be sustainable for your expenses.
Yeah, yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can also use savings as well. Like if you have savings from previous month that you've put away, then absolutely, like if you have a lower income month, you can absolutely just transfer some money and you can allocate that as a business income category inside your budget where you would just say, business savings, and then you build your budget from there too. So hopefully that answers Linda's question.
Absolutely. Thank you. She says yes. And then, Tesla's in Canada, so our options will be a bit different, but in general, what should I look for in a business bank account and business credit card to get started? Take it from
Hmm.
here, Sheri.
Well, I mean, the specifics of a business bank account, I don't really have specifics. I have more what type of accounts you would need. So I always suggest for business owners, and you don't have to do it all at once, but like, it can be an addition gig as you go. So I suggest that you have a main business checking and that you have a business savings. And then I do suggest a third account, and it could be checking or a savings. And I suggest that that one be titled or labeled. It's still under the business umbrella, but it's for taxes. So, and it's like one of those ones that you just don't look at, it just gets plopped in there. Now, as far as a business credit card, I'm gonna be honest. So anybody that does know Dave Ramsey, I don't operate with credit. So that was part of my um I guess coming out of financial ruin is that I agreed with myself I wouldn't use credit anymore. And so I don't know all the ins and outs of credit cards, what you should look for. I but if you already have one and you use it, it's no big deal. The suggestion that I have is make sure that you are doing a budget, because if you leave it up here and you put it on the credit card, what I have experienced with other coaches, and it doesn't matter if you're a health coach, a life and leadership coach, what can happen is you start a cycle.
Yeah,
Let's say you put $15,000 for, like, I don't know, a course that you might take, or maybe even another coach to coach you,
yeah,
something like that. You put that on the credit card, and then it takes you, you plan to pay it off in 12 months. And then if the income stream doesn't hit, it will extend longer. And that's okay if you're okay with that. But just being able to work with yourself on what that really looks like and living in a reality so that you don't end up like the 2008 Sheri with a failed business, a bankruptcy, and having to go to Financial Peace University. Just be really conscientious of what you have going on.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. It's been quite a piece for me to undo. I very much used to practice the like, oh, put it on the credit card and then I can earn miles or I can earn cash back. And it just was a slippery slope. And so over the last year or two, I've been undoing that and the freedom that comes from not being reliant on it. Now, I may not, be like, oh, I'm never going to use credit again. And there's a satisfaction and a fulfillment. And as we've been talking about this like inner job and how it relates to our money, like, it's no joke. So thanks for bringing.
Tara Ann, do you mind if I ask you a question on your experience? Just out of curiosity, you mentioned that you do a business budget.
Mhm.
Have you experienced since you've been working on debt elimination and you've been using your credit card either less or not at all? I'm not quite sure where you are with that, but have you noticed that you make different decisions in the moment throughout the month? I'm just
Oh,
curious about that.
absolutely. The unconscious just, pull from the wallet and swipe is synonymous to me of like, oh, being at a social scene and just eating the cake because everybody else is. Like that that part, it doesn't bother me anymore, but I remember a time in my life when I would feel social pressure around food and such, so undoing that, like I feel great, but the like untangling that behavior, that buyer behavior has been icky and significant.
Excellent.
So by working the budgets and practicing like, the 7 days at a time, like looking ahead. All right, I have a client lunch I'm having this week. I've got some books I'd like to get for my clients. Like it's just made me more intimate with my choices, my behaviors. And gosh, it's just it like reflects a lot around health too. So,
And I
it's just
see
great.
Tesla has another question for us.
Please.
Thank you for sharing that piece.
Yes,
Uh,
I
th-
use my business debit card.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I want to touch on that for a little bit. And at least here in the US, Tesla, every time I go into the bank to set up a new account, whether it was like, because I just started with the two accounts at first, then I added the tax account. But interestingly enough, the business credit card came up. And what I have learned, at least here in the States, it might be different for you in Canada, but the debit card, I can call the bank and I can cancel it if there's fraud, and I'll just get a new debit card. And the bank's still going to alert me through text message. It doesn't have to be on a credit card. Now, I will say that using a debit card to if you're a traveling coach, so let's say you're a health coach that comes to the United States and you're going to do a speaking gig or something, um that usually it's not a problem with airline tickets. It's not usually a problem with meals or places you go. But if you choose to use your debit card here in the States to rent a car, you have to do it at the airport because it is super difficult on the without a business debit card outside of airport renting cars. That's just like a total side note, but that's the only thing that I've had difficulty not having a credit card for.
Okay, helpful, helpful. That's really helpful. And if, one thing though is like, say, as a new business owner, it's challenging to qualify for that one, business credit card. Would you suggest like having one card that's simply for business so it doesn't get all mixed up with personal and such?
If you are going to choose to do it, definitely go that route. And
Yeah.
and I, as a new business owner, I would challenge almost anyone to really sink in to the income and expenses if they can. So if they are going to put something on a credit card, it's a specific item, so it wouldn't be the all of the bills. And like it would be most of your bills, like if you have automatic withdrawals and different things like that, have those run through your debit card. And when you have to make that manual transaction to infuse your business, that's going to trigger, I need to make some modifications inside of my money, rather than going, oh, I can't pay off the credit card this month, I'll do it next month. And then that can build or
Yeah.
not, depending. I can't remember where I was going with that, but that was just like one of those little things to make sure that just be very choice
Yeah, and
activated when you're
what
doing
I'm
it.
hearing though is like, setting up systems for
Mhm.
ourselves,
Yes.
you know, and doing,
Systems.
yeah, the systems of having the budget, thinking it through ahead of time, being gentle with ourselves as we're undoing old ways of being. And, old ways of being, I mean, this really brings up some like, what is our money story? How do we relate to money? And, oftentimes it's how we watched our parents relate to money. In my household, dad's doing the bills, he's gonna be grumpy.
On Sunday night, balancing the checkbook.
Right? And, God love them. And, I get to choose what kind of a relationship do I want to be upset while I'm working with my money, or how might I want to like, have it, the sky's the limit and be in more possibility, like you were saying earlier.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm going to include Linda's question into this answer that you just asked. So the systems is that I always have, when I'm suggesting somebody is going to start creating a relationship with their money. Number one, you have a business budget and a personal budget, just like bank accounts. Like we keep those completely separate. And the reason is, if you commingle, like if you picture when it comes tax time in the US, and let's pretend that like your bookkeeping system failed and all kinds of stuff went down, and you have to download 12 months worth of expenses from your bank account in an Excel spreadsheet and decide what the business expenses were and what they weren't. It can be done, but it's super difficult, it's stressful. And if you had a business bank account and a business budget, number one, you can download your business budget and you could use the transactions from there and at least take a 12-month sizable chunk, and they would already be categorized for you. So that's one fun way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number two, having your we do everything separate. So business bank account, business budget, and business date with your budget.
Oh,
And the reason is because you don't want to, like the description that I just talked about with the tangling of your business and your personal, if you had one bank account that it was going through, the same thing can happen with choices and decision making of your business and your personal. If you are thinking about how am I going to feed the dog
yeah.
at the same time of continuing your education so that you can be the best health coach in the world, or the best health coach that you can be, the dog is survival, and it's external. Like if we were going to talk external and internal, your continuous education of becoming the best health coach with, you know, in moderation. I say that when, especially when you're first starting, like start in moderation. Don't go big and go home, because you'll be paying for that for years.
Yeah. I hear
um,
you.
but you want to do it in one day and focus on it. And then maybe the next day you do your personal budget. You
Okay.
already know how much you allowed for yourself to be paid from doing your business budget. So you can input that into your personal budget and you can do that. If it's not enough, you get to go back to your business and you get to modify it and see what that is. Or if your business doesn't have enough to make the expenses, you can look at your personal, but always have them on separate days. The other thing is always do it a week before the month starts. So transactions aren't already coming through and you haven't, if you do it a week before, it gives you a full week to get really creative. Maybe input more conversations into your calendar. There's a lot of different things that you can do in 7 days.
So let me reflect on this. So, I've been talking about like my money date, and that was a big deal for me to find a half an hour each week to like commit to looking at my money. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense, that the mindset is different, personal versus business. So it could serve to find, two 1/2 hour slots throughout the week, and it'll create more ease. It'll allow for that possibility as opposed to like affordability. And then finally I heard you say that like, especially doing it the week before the beginning of the month to plan for that next month, it gives space for like, ooh, what's possible, what do I get to do, as
Yes.
opposed to like the self-shaming and weaponizing that can happen when dealing with our money.
Yes, and there's one more little piece to that. So if you take a proactive approach, like the week before the month starts, like we talked, there's there's a whole bunch more that we could get into, but time allowing it we don't have the time. But there's a piece about financial timing. So if you plan the whole month and then, you might have where expenses come out in week one, like a lot of expenses come out in week one, and but your income's not coming in week three. Like it allows the space to go, okay, at least I have enough money to cover the expenses for the month. And
Mhm.
then you can dive in, that's the macro level. And then you can go a little bit deeper into the micro level where it's like, is everything going to come through? And that gives you the proactive approach of being able to have the power of choice, decide where your money's going before it comes in. If you even start the first week or second weekend, you already have 7 to 14 days worth of expenses. So not only are you trying to clean up, it's like that whole catch up thing. You're trying to clean up and your mind's like in cleanup mode. It's really hard to get in a proactive mode when you're already in cleanup mode. And then sometimes it just creates a whole new cycle. So
This is super helpful. Thank you so much. And it reminds me, I'm like, oh, this is similar to like, meal prepping,
yes.
like these like health systems that we've all grown, and we're, supporting others and creating more habits for their health. And what I'm hearing you say are like creating money habits for our wealth
Yes.
and health
Yes.
as well. So this is beautiful.
Yes. And I don't think that I answered Linda's question. I thought that I was going to get into that when I when I went on that tangent. But so do you use your business debit card or purchases online? My
Yeah.
personal opinion, I still use debit card for absolutely everything because you can cancel your debit card, you can call your bank, say that's fraud charges, whatever. Like it's the same as a credit card. It operates the same.
And
I,
then
I will say this. I wouldn't suggest using your PIN if you can avoid it. You also have options of PayPal or Venmo, but if you use one of those, if there's a memo line for what the purchase was for, sometimes that's helpful when it comes through. And you can have your PayPal attached to your debit card. So it still shows, it still transfers through the bank, just like a debit card purchase.
awesome. And then Linda has as a follow-up to it. She's saying, not sure how every dollar works, but YNAB, I'm not familiar with what that is, allows you to have multiple budgets, business, personal, etc. Also, the system treats credit cards like debit cards, so you don't use that horrible credit card float. You can get a regular credit card in your name, maybe with cashbacks, and only use it for the business. She's on the same page. But if you can't control the use of credit card or don't have a system to stop the overuse, I agree that you shouldn't use one at all. Amen,
Yes.
sister. And then
Thank you,
Stephanie,
Linda.
oh, you need a budget. Okay, it's another program. Perfect. And then Stephanie's asking, what are your favorite and least favorite forms of payment?
Mm, okay, so honestly, on the personal side, my favorite form of payment is cash. And I like cash because I actually use the envelope system. If anybody follows Dave Ramsey, he talks about the envelope system. I create cash envelopes for my groceries. Then when I go to the grocery store, I pay in cash. And here's the cool thing about something like that. I use groceries as the example because it's the easiest one. When I first started back in 2008, 2009, and I was starting to figure out what can I do, what can I not do, I had to bring a calculator with me because I only had cash and I sure the heck wasn't going to put the items back.
Right.
So, it just it was activating that power of choice, if you will. So my next favorite is debit card, if I can use it. I will use PayPal also if I need to. My least favorite is Venmo. We are not friends, which is so weird because Venmo is actually PayPal is the parent company of
Yeah.
Venmo. If
And how about in receiving, like as a coach, like when I'm, you know, when I create a client, what's the preferred method of their payment?
mm, mm. Okay, well, there's a couple of different ways, making it really convenient um, for your clients to pay is
Yeah.
wonderful. So sometimes, well, I choose PayPal, or there's also if you like people to just be able to use their debit or credit card, PayPal or Stripe.
Yeah.
And Terry, and what do you use for yours?
Well, similarly, like when I first started, my preference was check, and I kind of push like, hey, send me a check by mail by this date. And I've found over the years that people like ease, and so it's like, paying Stripe for somebody to use their debit card or their credit card to pay me. There's a fee attached to it, and like that's just a part of my business. So I've had to like, I just want to make it convenient for somebody to pay me.
That's beautiful. On that front, so there are some banks that use easy like ACH direct
That's
deposit
been
type
working well
transfer.
too.
So at least with my bank, they have what's called Zelle, Zelle. And as long as you have the phone number or the email address that's linked, you would link, they can send it directly to you, and it makes handling payments very, very easy, no fee attached. You can also do wire transfers, and that can get a little tricky. You might have to talk to your bank a little bit more. So it's
Right.
not as easy.
And so given we have just a few minutes left, I'd love for you
Yeah.
to share the offer that you have for our participants today, and then we'll have time for a few more questions after that.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So I put together, it's just a 4 lesson, like getting started with your business budget and how to do it. And I do use every dollar, but you can also apply the principles to YNAB or any budgeting app or program there is out there. Now, the only thing that I would throw out there when you're first starting to budget, when you are looking for a program, being proactive and being able to plan your numbers, not just drag your expenses and see what you spent. So that's one thing that you'll want to look for. But it's 4 lessons. It takes you through setting up your budget, understanding what it looks like. There's a companion document. I have links for mileage, because if you travel for your business at all, you'll want to track your mileage and decide what you want to do. And it shows you also, at least for the United States, order of operations of how you can protect your business money. And so you have your gross income, and then I take you through the steps. So that's and it's free. Well, we can anybody that's is part of this webinar, or somebody that maybe watches the recording, absolutely can have access to it, and
Oh,
feel free to use
fantastic.
it.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat box. And then, we'll just spend a few more minutes. We've got to answer some questions. Are there any books, any further education that you might suggest?
Yes. Okay. So if you are in a place where you want to elevate your income, highly recommend Overcoming Under Earning by Barbara Stanny. There's a lot of inner work that goes into it. So it's read and part reading, part journaling. So you do the work in tandem. If you are looking to go to understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur and to really hone in that craft, create these systems, find out what it looks like to actually show up to work when you have an extraordinary amount of flexibility. The War of Art
Mm.
by Stephen Pressfield. And then the other one that I would throw out there is Turning Pro by also Stephen Pressfield, who like takes you from it's a short book. If you listen to it on audio, it's like 2 hours long, but it just really kind of takes you from what it's like to be an amateur and become a professional in yourself. And last but not least is Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. I mean, I highly recommend that. It's beautiful and wonderful. It's kind of it's a how-to guide on budgeting, and it doesn't talk much about business inside of that particular one, but you can apply the personal budgeting techniques to your business, and if you comboed that with the complimentary gift I gave, you'd be great.
Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. We've got people expressing gratitude for the books and for this time. We have room for just like one or two more questions if anybody has. Stephanie's saying thank you. Has this been helpful, invigorating? I feel tuned in and just happy to share in this work with you. It's so very helpful. Yeah, so many thank yous to other from the participants. Are any final words you'd like to share, Sheri?
Start small. Like it doesn't have to be elaborate. It just start small and just take care of. A lot of health coaches, at least the ones that I've worked with, I've only worked with a couple, but a lot of the health coaches, they are magnificent in taking care of their body, their mind. They are some of the best at making sure that they get themselves outside and they live what they teach. And this is just one little piece, one little extra piece that'll help you live a really fruitful life of service, of love for not only yourself, but others. And it'll help you release money distractions. And releasing money distractions allows for creativity and for presence at all times. So
I just have chicken skin all over. That you are speaking truth, Sheri. What a joy to experience you, Sheri Rozeski of Grateful Money. We're so happy to have her here with us for Primal Health Coach Institute. You guys stay in touch, take advantage of this free offer from her. Stay in our community. We have so many accessible tools to grow yourself and your business. And this has just been such a joy for all. Have a beautiful day, everybody.
nice meeting you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.